they question him, and every time they attack him, he outmaneuvers them, and they're left speechless. There's a few times where they've tried to kill him, or they've tried to arrest him, and every single time he just slips away. Hasn't been successful. They haven't been able to take him out, right? People were beginning to, people in the community were not being convinced that Jesus was a fraud. No matter how much the Pharisees tried to say, oh, he's the prince of Beelzebub, and he's not speaking the truth. They more and more were believing he was the Messiah. So the Pharisees, in all of their authority, they loved being heard. They loved being the center of attention. They loved everybody looking to them for leadership. It wasn't working anymore. No matter how much they cried out against Jesus the Messiah, more and more people were believing in Jesus, and less were believing in the Pharisees and following them. Their tactics were not working. Plus, Jesus was doing all these miracles. Now he's raising people from the dead. People who have been dead for a while. It was undeniable that Jesus was doing amazing things, that he was powerful, that he had power over life and death, and the Pharisees were now convinced they couldn't wait much longer. It was now time for action if they were ever going to stop Jesus. So the question remains, why did the Pharisees hate Jesus so much? Why did they want to stop him? When there were hundreds of prophecies that Jesus is fulfilling, they knew these prophecies, they memorized these prophecies, and still they're refusing to believe. Why is it? Well, the next verse gives us a clue. Okay, verse 48. Why did the Pharisees hate Jesus so much? It comes down to good old, sinful, human nature and pride. Verse 48. They're still having this conversation, right, in the Sanhedrin. What are we going to do about Jesus? Okay, verse 48. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Verse 48 gives us their motivation. If we continue to let him go on, if the Messiah keeps doing what he's doing, if Jesus keeps doing what he's doing, everyone's going to believe in him. Oh, heaven forbid. And the Romans will take away our temple and our nation. What are they worried about? They're worried about a few different things. First, everyone is believing in Jesus. All of Jerusalem, especially after the raising of Lazarus, everybody's talking about it, okay? People are coming to terms with Jesus being the Messiah. He's been tested. If you look at the passages we've covered already, he was the Passover lamb that was tested publicly. They kept questioning him, investigating him, and he passed all the tests. He had done miracles that couldn't be explained in any other way than that he was acting on the authority of God. He preached and he taught with such authority that people were amazed, and people stood there and said, wow, God is speaking through him. He must be, there's something here. And as a result, people were believing Jesus was the Messiah, and revival was coming to Jerusalem. So everyone was believing. If we don't stop it now, this movement's going to get out of hand, and everybody's going to believe. The second fear that they had was that the Romans will take away our temple and our nation. They were afraid of the Romans. They were afraid that if Jesus really was the Messiah, they, again, were thinking that he would be a political leader, that he would set up an earthly kingdom, right? That's how they envisioned the Messiah. And so if he comes to set up a kingdom, the Romans going to strike it down. Okay, that they thought the Messiah would be on a political mission, and that the Romans would come and with all their force, with all their armies, and strike it down. And that this is what they were afraid of, that Rome would come and take away their temple and their nation. You see, they were enjoying a little bit of freedom from the Romans. They were able to worship. They were able to collect temple taxes. They were able to kind of, do their thing. Rome didn't care if they had their gods, But all of a sudden, there's a Messiah going around, and he starts proclaiming himself as a king. They were afraid they would lose that authority. They would lose that freedom that they were enjoying. They were afraid of the Romans. Okay? More importantly, they said not only will they be afraid of their nation, it says they will be afraid they will take our temple. The Pharisees had a lucrative position. They had a lucrative job, if you will. Okay? If Jesus really was the Messiah, that means the sacrifices would come to an end, that he would fulfill the law. They'd be out of a job. Remember the Pharisees, they made a lot of money extorting worshipers. That's one of the things Jesus twice gets onto them for. They're charging them big money to worship. They were taking advantage of people. They were making some bank, okay, on the worshipers. All of that would come to an end if Jesus was the Messiah. They enjoyed their power, their authority. They were Pharisees. They had the Sanhedrin. All of that would change if Jesus was the Messiah. For years, they've been making a public stand against Jesus. They've been questioning him and attacking him. And if he is the Messiah, they would have to admit, here it comes, something nobody wants to do. If Jesus was the Messiah, after all the miracles and all the teachings, hey, publicly they're going out there saying, he's wrong, he's not. Now they're going to have to admit they're wrong? The Pharisees would never do that. They're never going to admit that they're wrong. They were too proud. For too long, they had all this pride, all this recognition, everybody thinking, wow, those Pharisees really got it together. For them to admit that they were wrong about something, they just couldn't do. So as a result, they decided they were going to kill Jesus. No one really likes change, and the changes Jesus, the Messiah, would bring were huge. For example, people would no longer have to go to a priest. They could go directly to God. As Christians, as believers today, we can go directly to God with our concerns, with our petitions, with our prayers. We don't have to go to a priest. We don't need an intermediary. Jesus is our intermediary. People no longer need to sacrifice animals to atone for their sins. Jesus